All right. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and get my screen ready. Bear with me for a moment. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started here. So let me change things for you guys. Get some things out the way. I'm going to change a few colors as well, make it more viewable, make it a little bit more viewable for you guys. Let me refresh. Oh, okay, it's loading up. It is loading up. Let me check some screens as well. So we have the black here. Okay, perfect. I think that's perfect. We can see the screen. So today, what I'm going to be going over is a trading strategy. My goal is to go one by one. All right. My goal is to go one by one to exactly what I do to become a profitable trader. I've been able to grow my account every 3 months, like quarterly, about 10% quarterly, and being profitable. So I want to be able to share that with others. So if you're here today, make sure you go ahead and tap the like, share, and also subscribe. And I'm going to get started. I'm going to try to do everything one by one, starting with the weekly time frame. All right. So we're going to go straight into it. So starting with the weekly time frame, let's go to QQQ. We'll start off with something that everybody looks at: QQQ, ES, the NQ, whatever you want to call it. Everybody does something different depending if it's futures, forex, or just straight stocks and options. So the first thing that I like to do is I want to find out what the trend is. So the way that I like to look at the trend is I use the alligator method. All right. The alligator method is originated by Bill Williams. You can check out some of his books. I believe he has about two or three books, but you can take a look at the information that he has. And I like to use the 5 EMA, which is you'll see the green line there on my EMAs. I'll make the chart bigger because we're going to start off with the weekly. And also let me clean it off real quick as well. So remove vertical line. All right. I like to start off with the green line is my 5 EMA. The yellow line is my 13 EMA. And the red line is my 34 EMA. The EMA stands for exponential moving average. I like to use averages. All right. So you can use the averages. Now, remember, the thing I said was, well, the first thing I want to find out is what's the trend. That's a simple thing to do. If the price is above the 34 EMA, I'm only looking bullish. If the price is below the 34 EMA, I'm only looking bearish. Plain and simple, right? So that's plain and simple as far as the trend goes. And that's the only thing I'm really looking for on the chart. That's the only thing I'm really looking for at the beginning of the chart. And I mean, of course, this is the S&P, the QQQ. So it's normally always pretty much oversold. So it's always on a uptrend. So staying bullish, not saying staying bullish all the time, but staying bullish above the 34 EMA has worked tremendously for me. And I'm gonna make sure I check the chat as well. So if you have any questions, this will be recorded as well. So if there's any questions, make sure you type them in the chat. Okay, so with the weekly, we have the trend. That's pretty much the only thing I'm looking for on there. I do have fractals on there as well. It's not something I just typically use. I use those more so for scanners, but I just keep them on there for my own sake. I could take them off. Also, what you see is a anchored VWAP. Also, what you see right there is the anchor VWAP. It's a green line. Uh, Now with the anchor VWAP, if price is above, it just means that it's overpriced, and if price is below the anchor VWAP, then that just means that it's below price. So I'll take the let's see, I'll take the alligator off here. So if price is above, it's overpriced. If price is below, it's below the price. And if it's at the anchored VWAP, then it's pretty much, let's call it, it's at its average price. So even right now, the QQQ is overpriced and the average price is 476. So not necessarily looking to take this trade on the upside, even though it's in a bullish trend, not looking to take this trade quite yet. So let me go back, put the alligators on, and we'll take a look at some other tickers as well. But the first thing I want to do is make sure that I go through the strategy, and then we'll go into some other tickers that I have written down. We'll also take a look at Bitcoin. I know a lot of people want to take a look at Bitcoin. Something also that's sneaking up that's not being talked about much is Ethereum. So that's another one that we'll take a look at. And so we'll get into that. All right. So we got the trend. That's number one. Number two is you want to find, let's call it, you have the wave, which is the trend. You have the tide, which is right here, what we'll be looking at with the daily. And then we have the ripple. All right. So wave, tide, ripple, wave weekly, tide daily, ripple the 4 hour time frame. There's 3 time frames on this chart. All right. So now on the daily time frame, I have a PSAR. I use the PSAR specifically for my trailing stop. This is I use the PSAR for my trailing stop. That's the only thing I use it for. What is PSAR? That's the parabolic stop and reverse. I can get into more of that. It won't be here on YouTube. You can feel free to message me, and then we can schedule a time and we can do some consultation at that time. But I use the PSAR. There is a lot of information on YouTube as well. But if you want it directly from me, we can definitely schedule that. So I use the PSAR as my stop and reverse. All right. And also my oscillators. The oscillators that I choose to use is the stochastic. Now, if I'm in a bullish trend, that's number one. If I'm in a bullish trend, I want to see my stochastics below the 50 midline. Okay. So see that on this chart here on the daily, I want to see my price below the 50 midline. So I'm only looking to take a trade when when the stochastics value line, the K and the D% is below the 50 midline. If it's above as it is right now, well, I'm not looking at that. Now, if you want to go into more stochastics, that's something else that I do as well. I have it all documented and written down step by step, everything that I'm talking about that I'll get more into on a course. It's about a 10 session course. So, it based on your time, how much time you have, we can spend, 1 to 2 times a week. Spots are definitely limited because I choose to trade and value free time. So, looking at the daily right now, right? If price is below that 50 midline, that's when I'm looking to take a trade. All right. Plain and simple. That's when I'm looking to make a trade. Now, once I get into the trade, I have a stop loss immediately. Which is the PSAR. So, and that's very important. That's one of the top important things to me is making sure that you have a stop loss. Know where you're going to get in your trade, but also know exactly where your stop loss is going to be. All right. So, well, the next question would be, well, okay, I see what the trend is. I also see when to kind of get into the trade based on the oscillator, if it's oversold or quote unquote overbought. Well, when do I enter? Something that I like to use is a stochastic on the 4 hour. Now, I take away, excuse me, I take away one of the percents for the D or K line, and I use the 39. I put 39 in there. Let me check to make sure if we have any messages. Okay, perfect. So I use the 39. When 39 on the stochastics cross above the 50, then I look for my entry. All right. But price has to be, everything has to align. The stochastics has to be below the 50 midline. And then also we have to go up the 50 midline over here on the daily. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some vertical lines right when we cross up the 50. As you see over here, and maybe I may need to move my screen a little bit, but let's see. As soon as we cross the 50, we cross the 50 right here. All right, let me check. Yeah, that's the 50. Is that an entry? That would be an entry for me. That would be an entry. You see that we entered and then it continued to go up. Let's see here, say from 500 to 510. That's a $10 move. That's an entry. So let's go back. Now, this is what we call back testing. Just taking a look back at a few of them. Probably do like maybe 3. Let's see here. We crossed the 50. Make another line here. Is that an entry? Yep, that's another entry. It's below the 50 here. We got to cross up the 50. Midline on the 4 hour. We're pretty much below the midline here. We enter and see that it continues to go up. And let's go back test some more. Boop, boop, boop. We crossed the 50 right here again. So that's 3. All right. And as you see, it happened each time. And it's as long as the stochastics over here on the daily is below the 50 midline, and also you're in a bullish trend. All right. It has to be, the stars have to align. Okay. So we're going to take a look at some more tickers. Um, if there's any questions, feel free to leave them in a chat. We're going to take a look at a bearish position as well. So let's take a look at something bearish. All right. So let me remove this real quick. And also let me just clean off the entire chart. All right, here we go. So now we're looking at Euro Swiss franc. All right. So now we're over here in the Forex market. We see that the trend is what? The trend is bearish. The trend is bearish. Price is below the 34 EMA. The 34 is the red line. Price is below it. All right. So now we're going to go over here and we see that the stochastic is above the 50. The 50 midline is above it. All right. So we have a bearish trend, our wave, tide, ripple, wave, tide, ripple. So we see our wave is on a bearish trend. Then we have the tide. The tide is above the stochastics is above 50. Okay. Right now, today it's not, but I'll show you. I'm actually in this trade on a bearish position. So once we cross the midline here, let's see, right there we crossed it. Right there we crossed it. All right. Now we're still continuing to go down. It's it's a I like to it look like a zigzag. It's been zigzagging down, but still continuing its bearish trend on its way down. But as you see, once it crossed below the 50, once it crossed below the 50 here, and we were above at that time, we were above the 50 midline on the daily. We also had our bearish trend. We were okay to take this trade on the way down. Now, sometimes I like to click on the auto fibs and I'll give myself a target. As you see here, I have a target at 0.92115 for the Euro USD. All right. Now you can switch this up as well. You can switch this up as well. So now let me go over to Euro, the Ethereum actually. Ethereum was another trade. Now, taking the Ethereum trade the way I saw it, I switched up the time frames a little bit. I went with the daily, the weekly, and the monthly. All right. So let's see. I believe we're gonna make a. We see the trend, right? We see the trend that it's on a bullish trend. That's very clear. It's above the 34, and this is on the monthly. So we're on a bullish trend. The stochastic just crossed above 50. All right. Just crossed above 50. Now, this trade was taken right around, it was right around this point. Let me see. Right around this point. All right. Right as it was crossing up the 50 midline stochastics on this smaller time frame on your ripple time frame. Ripple, tide, and the wave, tide, ripple, or ripple, tide, wave. All right, said that correctly. So we've been in this trade since around it may have been around 2800, something around that range. But as you see, the same thing, the same rules still apply. All right. So now my question would be, well, one thing you can do is trail behind it. Trail it every week. Every week you can move your stop loss, all right? Or well, not or, but and also you can have a target for it. I believe my target for Ethereum is about 4,000 right here at the peak high, the swing high, or the golden fib is at 5,300. All right, and that's for Ethereum. So now what I'll get into, I'll take a look at some other tickers that I was taking a look at and think of anything else I need to say regarding this. The strategy is pretty set forward and simple. I can go more into it. Feel free to message me. I'm also on Twitter at immaculatetony.eth, or it could be at immaculate tony. Either one, you'll see me. I'm on there as well. And I post a lot on there. So you can definitely check me out, send me a message, whether it's via YouTube or via Twitter. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. So let's take a look at TGT. TGT is another one. All right. Now, Well, let me go back to the correct time frames. Switch back up my time frames. All right. So TGT is just crossing that 50 right around here. All right. It just crossed that 50. Now, I'm aware that, let's see, 50. I am aware that it has, let's see, it was right around here. Yeah, that would be correct. So once it broke from that, what was a support line is now a resistance line. I'm still looking for TGT to continue going up on a strong trend. Uh, this right here, now, this is what I get into on my course trainings. On the course trainings, we talk about the alligator. I talk about the alligator sleeping. The alligator sleeping is pretty much when it looks like this. Notice the difference when the alligator is sleeping, the EMAs are intertwined or compressed. That could be a sign of consolidation or better known as accumulation. So right now, to me, I see a bullish sign of accumulation on target. Now, if the alligator is sleeping, what else can it do? There's three modes of the alligator: it's sleeping, eating, and let's see here. We go from eating, sleeping to waking up. All right. So right now it's sleeping. When it starts waking up, when the alligator starts waking up, you'll see the EMA start to trend up. And then once it's eating, you'll see it look as it is right here on this bearish trend, or as it is here on this bullish trend, right? So it was compressed at one point. It woke up and started eating, started continue to going up. And like I said, I get more into that in detail um, on the actual course that I have for you guys. But right now, Target, looking at Target right now, it's on a bullish trend. This was one entry. Maybe it'll come down and retest, but I'm staying bullish on Target. You can add this one to your watch list. I'm looking forward to break above 161 and create some new highs. Looking forward to break above 161 and create some new highs. Giving it about 3 to 4 months. Giving it about 3 to 4 months. So I know a lot of people, either if you're outright buying or if you're buying option, always buy time. Time is your best friend. And if you can buy more of it, then buy it. All right. So now we're going to go over to, let's see, I have NCLH, Norwegian Cruise Line. Norwegian Cruise Line. Let's take a look at when it crossed the 50. Let's see when it crossed the 50 line. So right around here, right there. I like to do it right after it closes. I want to make sure that it closes above that 50 midline on this smaller time frame. And as you see, when it closed, it was kind of compressed up here, but still above the 34 EMA, right? It was above the 34 EMA. One thing I see here is that daily, 4 hour, daily, weekly. It was actually high here. It was actually high here. And let's see if it came back down to test. So the next time it came down below is right around here. It came to the 50 midline. So that's on Norwegian. Now we're going to take a look at PLTR. PLTR, they had it November 5th. We'll put a line right there. We see that it had, I mean, it's been making a massive movement. And it's not just from here. Let's go back. All right. We see that it's clearly bullish. Now let's go back. Let's go back. All right. Here goes one move right here, right around this area. Right after it crosses the 50 and closes, right there. So right after it crosses the 50 and closes, we see that it's on a bullish trend. That's something we clearly see because it's above the 34 EMA. And we also see that the stochastics, the midline price is the value of the stochastics is below the 50 midline. And then also we see our entry right here. And from there, we see that it goes from $33 to currently $62. 33 to $62. So if you have any questions, make sure you feel free to type them in the chat. I'll make sure that I'll come back and I'll check on the messages. And also feel free to just message me. Like I said, I'm on Twitter. And also you can send me a message via YouTube as well. Let's take a look at HWM. HWM. We recently had a move on November 6th here below crossed above the 50, below the 50 on the daily, and then we see the trend is bullish as it's continuing to push up currently as we speak. All right, and we're gonna go back a little bit. Let's see here. When was another time where it crossed the 50? Right here, crossed above the 50, below the midpoint, below the midpoint. All right, and continued up. And let's see if we can find one more before we move on. All right, here goes another one, 53. All right, so there goes three moves as well below the 50. So the trend is bullish as we clearly see. Above the 50, but I'm sorry, below the 50 here on the daily, and then crossed above the 50 and went from 78 a few days later, 90. All right. And we're gonna take a look at cake, the Cheesecake Factory. Make sure that you tap like, share, subscribe if this information is resonating with you or if you find this valuable. This works on crypto, this works on stocks, this works with options, Forex, you name it. It's a strategy that I use every day. And I help people as well. And I've been doing it for it feels like forever with helping others learn this information. So once we cross above the 50 midline with cake here, all right, we see that bam, we have our entry. We were below the midline and the trend is bullish. And see that we went from 40 to now it's at 49. All right, let's do it. Let's go. We're going to go with three of them. All right. So the stochastic here crossed above 50. Right here, it's right around that midline. So I like to take it below the midline, period. I like to take it below the midline. If it's above, then I probably would not have taken it. And I know this is in hindsight, but I keep it consistent with stochastic must be below the midpoint, the midline on the daily in order for me to take that trade. And let's do one more here. We crossed the 50 on this one as well. All right. Now, right here, we get a nice movement. All right, and it's above the 50. Above the 50, allow it to go up and you just trail your stop. Last but not least for today. Last but not least for today, we have Shake Shack. Shake Shack. So the first time that it crossed the 50, bam, right here. All right. Cross the 50 going up on your 4 hour, below the 50 or at the 50 midpoint on your daily. And it continues to go up from there. So we went from, let's call it 101 to currently it's at 132. We're going to go back a little bit. We cross right here. All right, we crossed at 86 and we see that it gapped up about a day later to 101. So from 86 to 101. All right, now this just showing this, it's not guaranteed that every time the trade is going to go in your favor, but we're working with probabilities. We want to be on the winning edge of the trade. So that's all I have right now. I went through the strategy, do the same thing every single day when I'm looking at the market, and that doesn't mean that I'm trading every single day because every day there's not an opportunity to take a new trade. All right, and this is swing trading. But if you want more information, feel free to comment below. I'll make sure that I get back with you, or also send me a message. And I'm also on Twitter at immaculatetony.eth. You guys take care. Have a great day. And if there's anything that I could do to assist you in your trading endeavor and help you become a profitable trader, please let me know. Below, comment peace and love. And also like, share, subscribe. You guys have a wonderful day. Peace.